Hello, welcome to Dungeon Dwellers Podcast. I'm your host Justin. Today, for Christmas month, we're not reviewing a Christmas movie. We're reviewing a winter horror film, or a winter sci-fi horror film, and that is Stephen King's Dreamcatcher, which is a 2003 film directed by Lawrence Kasdan, starring Thomas Jane as Henry, Jason Lee as Beaver, Damien Lewis as Jonesy, Timothy Olyphant as Pete, Morgan Freeman as Colonel Abraham Curtis. You also have Tom Sizemore as Owen and Donnie Wahlberg as Duddits. And I gotta say, this film is probably one of my favorite Stephen King movies. I was kind of shocked to see that a lot of people don't like this movie. To me, it's pretty much like it's kind of like an episode of X-Files, but what if an episode of X-Files felt like a horror epic with a huge budget. Which I don't know what the budget for this movie was, but it must have been decent. Alright, because there's a lot of production value in this movie. This movie, I would almost call it like a horror epic. Right? And not a lot of movies I would call horror epics. Well, I know people would probably... A lot of horror epics are zombie films. This is one of the few horror epics that's not a zombie film. Which there aren't a lot of horror epics that are not like zombie films. For example, you have, what's the director? Toby Jones, I think his name. Toby Hooper. He directed a horror epic for Canon. Life Force, aka Space Vampires. You also have another horror epic I would consider John Carpenter's Into the Mouth of Madness, right? And I would consider this film like a horror epic. So what's the story about this? The story of this film is you have four friends, right, who are from Derry, Maine, which, of course, Stephen King novel or movie has to have characters from Maine, right? So the movie's about these four guys who are all psychics, who are best friends since childhood, who every year they go out in winter time, go out in this cabin in the mountains. I don't know where exactly. And hunt, drink beer, hang out. And when they were kids, they were granted magic superpowers from this mentally challenged kid named Dullitz, whose older self is played by Donnie Wahlberg, Mark Wahlberg's brother, and he's actually an alien, right? And they save him, and one day, they ask for Dullit's help to find this missing girl, and Dullitz gave them all different powers, right? You have most of them are telepathy, right? You have Thomas Jane's character can read minds. Timothy Olyphant's character Pete can use his powers to find things. You have Beaver, who's Jason Lee's character, who's the comedic relief of the movie, whose powers is he can kind of see into the future, but not really, right? And you have Jonesy, who doesn't really, aside from telepathy, his only power that's unique to him is his memory palace, which is very similar to like the Memory Palace from the Benedict Cumberbatch like Sherlock Holmes series, where he basically imagines this warehouse where he stores all of his memories, right, in boxes, and that's how he remembers everything, right? Yeah. So what happens? They go. Well, what happens? Jonesy gets in a car accident, almost gets killed by Dudlitz, right? Which is strange because Dudlitz is their best friend, and they're not. And Dudlitz would never do anything to hurt them, right? So months later, they go out into the cabin in the woods, um, for their winter trip, and while Henry and Pete go out to get beer, Jonesy finds this lost hunter in the woods, right, outside of his hunter blind, and like takes him into his cabin. He's really sick, and there turns out there's like an alien creature inside of him, which is like this slimy worm, right? That kills Beaver, right? And like you see this alien show up, and it goes into Jonesy's body and possesses him, right? While that's going on, the army has quarantined the area. It's like a special black ops unit run by Morgan Freeman's character, Colonel Abraham Curtis, I think is his name, who looks a lot like Arlie Hammer. What's it called? Arlie. Let me just look him up. Arlie. Shit. Lee. Ermey, that's his name. Right? Who's like, even has the crazy eyebrows, long eyebrows of Arlie Ermey. Right? Who was like a drill instructor for the army, who became an actor, right? After being in like one of the greatest movies ever made. What was it called? Apocalypse Now, right? Yeah, which you can tell how like Morgan Freeman's like look is in the movie, how his character written. That was probably written for Arlie Ermey, but they for some reason went with oh my god, I meant to whatever. It all worked out. Yeah, so like you could tell it was probably written for him, man. And like he gives his like second in command a gun that John Wayne gave him, which is which looks like a 1911 with like special engravings, right? I could be wrong on the pistol though. It's some kind of automatic pistol, right? And Morgan Freeman runs this like black ops unit that has been hunting aliens on Earth for 25 years. This is where the movie has this like X-Files feel to it, right? Where and these aliens, they're fucking like, if you ever watch videos by these like alien like crazy conspiracy guys, they think the angels and demon mythos came from good aliens and bad aliens. Which there is a battle between good aliens and bad aliens in this movie. And the bad aliens come off really demonic in this film. Right? Because they're psychics, right? So they make themselves look like the smooth, the smooth, wide-eyed, aliens from you see from Area 51, but really they're giant, like they're giant like eel monsters with big ass vagina teeth mouths with like spiked tails. Man, that can kill you. They can eat and kill you, right? And there's a scene where like Morgan Freeman uh, has like leads this patrol of like black helicopters armed with miniguns and missiles to destroy their ship. While this is going on, the aliens project themselves are messaging them with telepathy, right? Telling with using like voices of like regular people, right? Kids, women, children, shit like that. And like they're waving them down, saying like, we want help. We crash landed here. We're not here to infect. We're not here to infect you. Which they're spreading like this infection, right? And like Morgan Freeman's like, fuck these aliens. They're as harmless as foxes in a hen house. Kick ass boys, and they wipe them out. And while they're killing them, and they're running away, you can see the aliens' true forms, which are those slimy like monsters, right? Oh man, like in a lot of ways, like Morgan Freeman's character is kind of based, right? But the problem with Abraham Curtis, Morgan Freeman's character, is that he wants to not just kill the aliens and the animals that carry the infection. He wants to kill all the people who carry the infection, right? Which it's, I guess the infection is like this red blotch on like people's skins, and I guess like eggs will like a monster will like form inside their bodies and burst out, right, through their ass. Which is kind of like, which is kind of similar to like, aliens, right? Which is why they call this Ripley, right? Why did I use Dragon Slash? Whatever. I meant to use Falcon Slash. Whatever. So I'm lost in the game right now, so I'm just fucking grinding. Alright? I got like, I'm making some like, a recipe. Oh, what did I make? Oh, I made a Ring of Immunity. Alright. I have to give that to a guy and pick him. Man, what was I gonna make after that? I totally forgot. I totally forgot. Oh, man. Oh, we'll just make some herbs. Fuck it. Yeah, so what ends up happening is like Jonesy is getting possessed by this alien called Mr. Grey, which apparently Dulwich warned him about Mr. Grey when he was a kid, which he calls him Mr. Gay. Mr. Gay. So like what ends up happening is Henry finds Beaver dead, finds the house trashed. The house is trashed. Kills a bunch of alien eggs, right? Burns them alive, and like gets captured by the military. Reads the minds of Colonel Abraham Curtis and Owen, which is played by Tom Sizemore, who's great in the movie, right? And like learns that they're planning on killing everybody, everybody with the infection, and that like that also that Damien Lewis character Jonesy, who's possessed by Mr. Grey, is on his way to like infect like. Is out of the quarantine, is going to infect like the populace by putting a worm in the water, right? So like Henry is able to convince Owen into helping him, and like Owen snitches on on Colonel Abraham Curtis to like this like liberal general called called General Matheson, and like he takes over the operation, but not before Colonel Abraham Curtis finds out where Owen is, thanks to a tracking device he put in the John Wayne's gun, which makes me wonder if that story is even true. Right? Sorry, I'm just gonna take a sip. So what happens is Henry goes to pick up Dulwich, right, played by Donnie Wahlberg, right, um who lives with his mom and has like Scooby Doo shit all over his house, and even quotes like Scooby Dooby Doo, we got work to do or some shit. I don't know. He said something like that, right? So what is it? They pick him up. They go to find Jonesy, right? Owen is about to go, loads up like his pistol and his MP5. Goes to go kill Jonesy, who killed like a truck driver and took his dog and used the dog as an incubator for the worms, right? For the worms, man. Which poor doggo in the film, poor German Shepherd. Sorry, poor German Shepherd. Yeah, they kill a dog in the movie, right? But it is what it is. Yeah, so like, yeah, he goes to fight fight Jonesy, but what ends up happening is like, Colonel Abraham Curtis, Morgan Freeman's character, steals one of the black helicopters with a minigun, and tries to kill Tom Sizemore. They have a gunfight where Tom Sizemore, despite being horribly disadvantaged, armed with nothing but like a submachine gun and like a pistol, is able to take down like Morgan Freeman character in his like helicopter. Which before he dies, he yells, what did he yell? Like, motherfucker! Motherfucker, how dare you? It's like, bitch, you brought a fucking helicopter to a gunfight, and he's like complaining it's not fucking fair that he lost. Right. Which he actually kills like Tom Sizemore, right? Tom Sizemore bleeds to death. So like, Henry takes the machine gun and the submachine gun finds Jonesy, right? And Dulwich shows up. Turns out Henry uses up all of his like ammo while killing one of the worm babies that came, one of the big worm babies that came out of like the dog, right? And so what happens is like you have the final battle in the film where Dulwich turns into an alien and kills is able to take the alien out of the Jonesy body and basically self-destructs with the alien, right? And they save the world. So I really enjoyed the movie. I thought the relationship with the four main characters was great. I could have used more screen time with them. I would almost love, a buddy movie with these guys, but obviously that didn't happen, right? Yeah, so I love the whole like destiny and like the whole like the whole feeling of like we have like our characters were like prepared, were like were on like knew that their powers were probably given to them for a reason, but were caught completely unprepared and like half of them died. Which sucks, but it was the thing where, like, obviously the enemy were psychics too, so they had to keep, Dulles had to keep some secrets from them, right? Which at first I was like wondering why Jonesy had like a secret room in his warehouse where he kept some of his more private memories, I thought that was like, completely, what's the point of that? And then like you realize, oh, him and his friends are psychics. For all they know, they would someday run into like enemy psychics, right? So like that made sense to me. Apparently, a lot of people don't like the body horror and like the fact that it turns into a monster movie after the second half of the film. I don't know. I thought the movie worked. I thought the monster designs were great. There's also some humor in the movie with Jason Lee and Pete, who almost gets his dick bitten off by by the one of the slime monsters, slimy worm monsters, right? Or eel monsters as he calls it, right? Which it, they were able to chop off like Jason Lee's like fingers off in like a second, but like they could, but like they were wrapped around like Pete's dick for like what 2 minutes, and they weren't able to bite that off. Whatever, right? Which I felt bad for Pete, man. Like he was a pretty cool character, even though he was a car salesman alcoholic, man. Who tries to use his power to find things to pick up chicks, and it doesn't work, right? Some bad things about the film are the movie is a little long. It's like over 2 hours, right? And it was the thing where like you can like debate like, okay, how the fuck was like Morgan Freeman able, after his unit was taken like arrested by the General Matheson's men, able to like get to the helicopter and fly off and not get shot down, or have like a helicopter pursue him and shoot him down. That didn't make a lot of sense, but like it was, I don't know, it was what it is what it is. I still enjoyed the movie, and I think it's a very good like winter horror film if you're into that. And I really like the whole like group of friends in the movie, and like the plot where they have to come, where they're completely unaware, they get caught completely unawares, like, and put in this situation where they have to like save the world from an alien threat, right? An alien demonic threat, which I don't know, I really enjoyed the film. And I thought the actors did a great job, like Thomas Jane. This is one of the few great Thomas Jane movies, right? Because like after like 2010 or something, like I think, I don't know, man. There's this I think after 2010, like his fucking career went to shit, man. He totally. I think the worst decision he ever made was the turning down Punisher 2. Or Punisher Warzone, because right after that, like, his career went downhill, and he's in, like, low budget movies, and, like, fucking, like, shitty sci-fi shows, like what was that sci-fi show he was in? I can't remember. It totally sucked, man. I only watched it for him, man. It wasn't very good. Though the first season was alright. Season 2 was fucking bad. I can't remember the name of the show, but like somebody would know what I'm talking about. I think it was on Sci-Fi or some fucking shit. Oh my god, I'm totally blanking on it. Let's see if I can find it really quickly. The Expanse, that's the name of the show. Also, Thomas Jane was in another Stephen King movie called The Mist, which came out 4 years after this one. That was pretty good, right? Yeah. So I really enjoyed this film, and some people would disagree on like if this movie's good or not. I personally think this movie is great, and I would totally recommend it. And I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. For our next Christmas month review. We're going to go back to Christmas movies. Nuke asked us to review Jingle All the Way, which I fucking hate that movie. I fucking hate that movie, but I totally thought I reviewed it last year. Apparently I didn't. Yeah, so we'll review that movie next for Christmas month, and then on Monday we'll review. We'll probably take a break and review like a short cartoon, like Robbie the Reindeer. I was surprised to see that was only 30 minutes long. But yeah, we'll review Robbie the Reindeer, and then we'll see